Hey everyone, it's Kong again with another episode of Should You Summon. As always, I'm going to be presenting high-level overviews to help you decide whether this banner is worth your hard-earned vouchers and crystals. I gave you a little bit of a preview of my final answer in the PSA that I posted yesterday, but short answer is yes. Let's look at the details though. This month's banner is for even more new Langrisser mobile original characters, Eshean and Hofmann, running from February 1st to February 28th. That would be the entire month front to back if it weren't a leap year. As usual, any SSR you pull has a 40% chance of being either of these featured heroes, with the remaining 20% chance reserved for any random off-banner unit in the regular summoning pool, including Andriole and Nemia. First up, let's look at Eshean. Eshe is a flying DPS who can basically do a bit of everything. Her talent gives her plus 25% attack and defense. At the beginning of each round, she gets a talent stack worth plus 10% damage. She can only have 3 though. If she has 3 stacks at the start of the round, they disappear and reduce all her cooldowns by 5. At the end of her turn, she also gets to take a bonus action, kind of like Florentia but without having to slowly build up tokens. And similar to Florentia, her options are to heal herself, to buff an ally, or to cast Act Again on an ally. That's right, this DPS unit can cast Act Again without even having to spend the turn casting Act Again. Her unique 1-cost skill is her Self-Act Again. It gives you a random buff for every talent stack you have, and if you have 2 or more, you can move 4 spaces before doing something else, like killing someone. The only thing to mention is you don't get to use one of your bonus talent skills when triggering this because it's still your turn. You can trigger your bonus skill after acting after your Act Again. That makes total sense, doesn't it? Her unique 2-cost skill is a defensive aura that's almost identical to Landius's, 30% less chance to be critically hit, and 15% less range damage taken. When used as an active support, it enhances the talent skill you choose to cast at the end of this action. The heal can be used on an ally instead of just Eshean, and it heals more, for 70%. The buff boost is stronger, and the Act Again also increases mobility by 2. Finally, her 3-cost skill lets her revive at 30% HP with refreshed cooldowns as long as she has a talent stack. When used as an active attack, it's a 1.3 times single target attack plus 15% for each talent stack you have. If you have 2 or more, it also stuns the target before battle, like Shield Bash or Lostum's 3C. If it kills the target, it cashes in your talent stacks for 5 cooldown on all skills, and lets you move 5 more spaces to retreat. So she heals, revives, casts Act Again, has an aura, stuns, and did I mention this is all with 607 base attack? That's top 10 in the game right now. She's a member of Legion of Glory buffed by Ledin, Elwyn, and Grenier, Meteor Strike buffed by Zerida and Epsilon, and Princess Alliance buffed by Luna, Shelfaniel, and Christiane. For bonds, she unlocks the attack bond for her bannermate Hofmann, and for her own bonds, she also needs Hofmann for her defensive bond. For content, in PvE, she's on faction for Leviar and Scylla in the Eternal Temple, and Jormungandr, Hugin and Munin, and Nidhogg in Ancient Beckoning. I haven't seen a run with her on Hugin and Munin yet, but I have seen new high-scoring runs with her on both Jormungandr and Nidhogg. This makes perfect sense, because units with an Act Again mechanic have always been OP in Ancient Beckoning, where the goal is to shell out as much damage as you can in a limited time. The fact that Eshean can make another unit Act Again without wasting a DPS turn of her own is a big boost. On the PvP side, obviously with a kit like this, there's no question she's a huge threat. She's the kind of dynamic playmaker that can make the rest of the units on your team more threatening as they inch into position and then suddenly get to Act Again to follow up on one of her attacks. A big portion of this season's meta in China featured reviving characters like Awakened One, Andriole, Apotheosis, and Eshean, chunking lives off each other like Rocky Balboa and Apollo Creed. As for her build, for PvE, Ancient Beckoning in particular, she usually lives in her infantry class. She runs Blazing Sun, as nearly everyone in Ancient Beckoning does, with Crystal Stinger, Tiamat's Blessing for Nidhogg, and Arcane Battle Garb for Jormungandr, Fury of Tyr, and your attack-based accessory with the best enchant. In PvP, she's usually run in her flying class, where she can safely use Ragnarok, Last Rites, King's Crown, and again, the most appropriate plus 8% base attack accessory you have. Breeze is always a safe bet for a mobile DPS like this. And for those of you who like to ask about troops, she'll almost always bring the new Pegasus Knights, so build those up when they launch. Alright, let's move along to Hofmann. Hofmann is a bulky AoE specialist whose gimmick is a stationary shield that he can summon which disrupts the enemy's offenses. Some people basically think of him as Emperor Autocrato 3.0. His talent gives him plus 30% attack and defense, and lets him summon his shield after taking action. This is a standalone unit that inherits 90% of his stats. If you already have the shield on the field, then this talent action becomes a teleport that lets you bring it into a better position. You can also re-summon the shield if it gets killed, but the summon and the teleport effect have a 2-turn cooldown. The shield itself can choose a direction to cast a 3x7 aura, wherein enemies suffer minus 15% attack and int. Then the shield doesn't do anything for the next 3 turns. Anyway, his unique 1-cost skill is a passive that randomly inflicts one of 2 debuffs on enemies he actively damages. The first causes soldier range -1, and soldiers lose 30% of their HP before entering combat. The second causes hero range -1, and the target can't benefit from Act Again effects. His unique 2-cost skill is a 3-line AoE that scrambles enemy positions and makes it so they can only move in straight lines. Yes, this sounds familiar. If his shield is up, though, enemies in the defended range take an additional burst of damage. Finally, his 3-cost skill passively increases his damage dealt if the shield is nearby. As an active skill, it's basically Advanced Sword Dance, a 3-span AoE that causes heal block. If they're already heal blocked, though, they get stunned. Like his 2C, enemies in the defended range take an additional burst of damage. He's a member of Legion of Glory, buffed by Ledin, Elwyn, and Grenier, Meteor Strike, buffed by Zerida and Epsilon, and Strategic Masters, buffed by Altemuller, Lanford, and Grenshiel. For bonds, he unlocks the defensive bond for his banner mate Eshean, and for his own bonds, he also needs Eshean for his own attack bond. For content, in PvE, he's on faction against Phoenix and Scylla in the Eternal Temple, and Jormungandr, Hugin and Munin, and Sleipnir in Ancient Beckoning. But nah. On the PvP side, like Autocrato and I guess Ricky, he's pretty much just an Apex Arena side tech to help AoE tank push teams annoy their opponents while messing with their formation. But he's going to be OP for someone like Hale, who's going to be building him specifically to fit into his box, and probably Lonebird. For his build, his classes are very similar stats-wise, so your choice is going to be based on what you're planning to do with him. His infantry class is more focused on his AoE potential, with plus 10% area damage in his bonds, and access to Balance Blade. His Lancer class is more geared towards personal bulk, and as I mentioned, Scarlet Reaper is his other kind of meta weapon choice. With a disruptive AoE-based kit like this, you're probably going to want Clock. There are a lot of nice defensive armor options. He can benefit from Tiamat's Blessing, because if he's infantry, he can use the new Lancers, and if he's a Lancer, he has some good defensive infantry as well. Anyway, enough about Hofmann, let's move on to the notes for noobs. Eshean is a must-summon meta-altering unit for PvP who turns out to be strong and useful in the right kinds of ways to make an impact in PvE as well. Not much point in recapping everything she does here, because she does everything, and she is a must-summon. Oh, I guess we're not done talking about Hofmann after all. Here's Hofmann again. Hofmann unlocks Eshean's bonds. Finally, just my usual reminder about upcoming banners. One features Ed Ankelmo and Sagni. One features Amadeus, Gustav, and Rosenseal. One features Rosalia, Emilia, and Sissy White. And one features Rachel, Lana, and Tiaras. This month's Hopes and Dreams Lotto also introduces the SP Upgrade Stone for Almeida. She ends up being kind of a mediocre mini Rosenseal who doesn't really replace any of the meta healers very well. I'm going to talk a bit about her in her own video later this week, just because I've been evaluating her for FreeCon purposes. Next month's headliners are the new Mythical Realm faction buffer Isolde, and a little dude named Jace. The next collab is Guyver, coming in 3 months, so if you're a crossover collector or a fellow Guyver superfan, you still have plenty of time to save up for those.
I need the power. I must rescue Mizuki! I must call it!
Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. I'm not playing a particularly meta box this season, but I do want to make sure I have tools available to me in the future, especially for Ancient Beckoning reruns. So I'm going to try to summon 1 copy of each. I definitely want to keep as much in reserve as possible to summon like crazy for Isolde next month, because I am a myth main and she is a myth mom. Let me know what your summoning plans are in the comments below, or as always on the This Old Neon Discord. The link is in the description. Give me a thumbs up while you're down there. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I wish you all the best of luck, and I'll catch you in the next Should You Summon. Actually, realistically speaking, I will catch you in my summoning video, which will be happening this week. I've been live streaming the last few of these, so if you're around during the day on Thursday, keep an eye out for a notification on YouTube or Twitch that lets you know that I'm streaming, and you might be able to watch my summoning live, and bring me good luck, hopefully. Extra special thanks, of course, to our Langrisser tier channel members for generously supporting the channel directly. Shout out to Levitt, Kate Soon, Jared Portela, Jerome Meyer, Harambe, and the Midland Guild. Thanks so much for your support, everyone.